One day an undead shall be chosen.
I was 13 years old, playing my first Souls game, and I had just found the gargoyles. I was already struggling to fight just a single boss, so the idea of beating 2 bosses at once seemed completely impossible. I tried, and tried, and tried some more, but no matter how hard I tried, this felt genuinely impossible. I finally looked up a guide and found out how to summon Solaire, which I did, and that trivialized the whole fight. I was happy to be able to progress, but I also felt like I had cheated, so it was a hollow victory. To add to my frustration, since this was the dark days where games for Windows Live was still a thing, the next time I booted it up, there was no continue button. Windows Live had freaked out and just deleted my entire save, so I had no choice but to start again. This time, however, I was determined to beat the game without using any summons. Playing your first Souls game is a special experience, something that can never be replicated. The fear and mystery of all these strange mechanics, figuring out how to fight an enemy without taking damage, figuring out what all the numbers and symbols mean in the menus. It was quite a lot for 13-year-old me to take in. I had never played an RPG outside of Skyrim, which is an extremely simplified RPG experience, so it was by far the most complicated game I'd played up until that point. And needless to say, I struggled a lot. I was fat rolling, using a weapon that did not match my stats because I didn't understand what the letters in the param bonus boxes meant, and I had missed out on the Dragon Bridge shortcut as well as Andre's blacksmith area, so needless to say, the whole game had been a struggle up until this point. When I ran into those gargoyles, it was the first time I encountered a challenge in a video game where the only thing stopping me from progressing was my skill. There was no other area I could go and explore, that I knew about at least. There was no better weapon I could find, and there was no secret weakness or gimmick I was missing like with the Taurus demon. The only thing I could change was my skill. So I read up on the wiki, I learned what the stats did, I learned how weapon scaling works, I went to forums, I chose a weapon that actually scaled with my stats, I learned about weight thresholds and finally found out I didn't have to fat roll everywhere. And the boss still felt impossible. Because despite doing better damage, having a better dodge, and having a closer bonfire, my skill still hadn't improved. And this was where I finally had my epiphany. The game felt impossible, and I didn't think I could do it. So what was going on here? I thought video games were meant to be easy and fun, but no matter what I thought, there was the whole rest of the game after the gargoyles, so there had to be a way. Someone designed it to be possible, and I knew thousands of people had done it before me. So instead of giving up, or cheating, I just kept trying. I kept hitting my head against the brick wall, and even when it felt like I wasn't making any progress whatsoever, I kept going, because I knew there had to be a way. Slowly, something magical started to happen. I engaged my brain in a way I hadn't ever done before for a video game. I started to recognize attack patterns, started to think about my positioning, and how to use the environment to my advantage. I got comfortable enough with the controls to start multitasking, and once I didn't have to worry about my own actions, I could keep track of both bosses at once. I was learning. This might all sound very simple and normal, but I'd never had to try that hard before. School had never really challenged me. When presented with a test of any kind, my thoughts were always, what's the fastest way to get through this? Or if I didn't get it right away, my go-to was, who can I get to help me finish this? This history of always finding easy answers and looking for shortcuts meant that I was so used to getting by with little effort that I became afraid of failure, and I didn't want to try something unless I knew I could succeed. So, the process I was experiencing here was genuinely new experience for me. There was no one who could help me, and there was no easy solution. And after many hours of repeatedly bashing my head against this brick wall, it finally collapsed. Now let me tell you, I had never experienced such satisfaction. This was a challenge that I had chosen to take on, not one that had been given to me or imposed upon me. And the only reason I had beaten it was due to nothing other than my skill level increasing. It was a euphoric and empowering experience. I had unlocked the mindset necessary to accomplish anything I wanted to. No longer was the idea of tackling something that seemed impossible something to be afraid of. And if I wanted to learn something, now I knew that I could. No matter how impossible it seemed at first, I didn't need any shortcuts or any outside help, because if I just set my mind to it, I became confident that I could accomplish anything I wanted. This is a mindset that has helped me in so many ways throughout the years. I've never had any formal training for script writing, video editing, 3D modeling, playing chess, playing fighting games, and so many more skills that seemed impossible at first. But by applying the mindset that Dark Souls taught me, there hasn't been anything in my life I haven't been able to achieve. I learned that there's no reason to be afraid of failure, and that often, perseverance is all that is needed to get you where you want to go. And it's how I've approached every new problem in my life. I jump right in, knowing I'm going to fail, and probably fail a lot, but knowing that as long as I keep trying, I will learn a little more every time, until one day I can look back and laugh, seeing just how far I've come. I know this is definitely a shorter video compared to my others. It lets me flex my creativity a bit more, and so you can expect to see a few more of these between my bigger projects. And as always, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.